Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the Two Ewes of Two Ewes Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at twoewesfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our Two Ewes Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode.
Hi, Marsha.
Hi, Kelly.
What's going on in Seattle?
It's nice today. It was pretty nice. Cold, but nice.
Uh-huh.
I did 5 miles today.
Oh, wow.
Which I'll talk about that later in the podcast. But yeah, I walked over.
Oh, good for you.
I walked from my house over to there's a coffee shop over in the Greenwood neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So I now am really conscious of all the people who don't live in Seattle that are in other parts of the world in the hemisphere. So my apologies to those people, the way I'm talking about this, but yes, it's about a 5-mile walk over there.
Nice.
And back. So did that with the dog and that was nice to get out. And it's interesting. So this is January 17th. So for those people who are in the Southern Hemisphere, we are in full winter right now in the Northern Hemisphere. And it's amazing how many, trees, you can see the buds are swelling for the flowers and the leaves.
Oh.
And you can see in the ground the beginning of crocus and little flower bulbs coming up and just beginning.
Oh, that's nice.
So, I know. That means that spring is on its way.
Yeah. Well,
it's in a few months anyway.
The same thing for us. Today's rainy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a cold January.
Yeah.
It just has been. We haven't had frost again, I don't think, the way we were having around Christmas time, but it's just been windy and blustery.
You've had a lot of rain, too, because I looked at the weather and you've had a lot of rain.
Salinas is at over 100% of normal rainfall. The rest of the state is not necessarily, but our area, the Central Coast area, is at over 100% of normal rainfall.
Okay.
So that's good. It's good for my plants.
Mm-hmm.
And things are starting to look like, okay, they know that the solstice has come and gone. And we're on our way toward more light and all of that. So
yeah. Anything else, or should we talk projects?
Yeah, let's talk projects.
Okay.
Let's talk warm woolens to counteract the weather.
Yes. Yeah. So what are you working on? Or first of all, have you finished anything?
No, I have not finished anything. Okay. Still on the works in progress.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got another doily that I'm working on. I think I described this, that there's a main pattern and then there's 2 what they were calling appetizers. So I'm still on the second appetizer, and I don't know what the name of the pattern is. It's a number. I'm doing the square version. Yeah, so it's got 9 flowers, 3 on each side around the edge, and then 4 flowers that are a little bit bigger that make up the corners. Mm-hmm. And then once you've got all the flowers Kitchenered together, you pick up this, well, you don't pick them up, they're live. I mean, you put the live stitches on the needles, and then you work from the outer round where all those flowers are toward the center. Okay. So it's a really interesting construction that I have not done before. Mm-hmm. Lots of Kitchenering of lace. And I don't know if that means I have to learn how to Kitchener stitch in pattern, or I think I might learn how to do. There's I normally do Kitchener stitch with a needle, a darning needle, a tapestry needle. But there's a way to do the Kitchener stitch with your knitting needles.
Okay.
I don't know what that way is, but I'm thinking it might be a good thing to learn because each one of these, so 9 and 4, so 13, each one of these 13 flowers that goes around the edge has to be Kitchenered together.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a lot of Kitchener stitch.
Yeah.
And it might be nice to be able to do a knitted Kitchener stitch. So we'll see. I'm not to that point. I started this because I wanted to say I have 2 flowers, one flower completely done, and the second flower I'm halfway through. And I was able to do a flower in an evening.
Oh, okay.
So they're not complicated. They're not complicated or time consuming. They're small. And so I could do a flower in an evening, but I've been working on other stuff. So I haven't gotten more than just about 1 3/4 flowers done on that. But I've been pretty monogamous on my mystery knit along using our yarn. I'm loving knitting with this yarn, Marsha. It's a really nice yarn.
I have to buy some of our yarn.
You'll have to tell me which one. Place your order, and I'll send it to you. No, it is. It's really nice. And I don't. Did I talk last time about the color choice and how I had to over dye the color? I can't remember. I
can't remember either.
I
know.
Must have.
We had a conversation. I always get confused, Kelly, about what we actually talked about in the podcast and what we talked about just between ourselves. So.
I know. I apologize, everyone, if we're repeating ourselves or if we're talking about secret stuff that you never heard of.
So maybe just tell people briefly in case we didn't talk about it last episode.
Okay, so I dyed. I had one color that I really liked. That was in the shop that I took out of the shop that I was using. It's a variegated brown and teal. And it was very interesting because in the skein, the teal, it read blue to me. I mean, I knew it was teal, but it was a teal blue. Like I saw it as blue. And so I dyed the brown. I dyed a darker version of the brown that was in the variegated. And some of the darker brown is in the variegated too. The variegated has the dye color is called chestnut. It reminds me of redwood because it's got a real warm tinge to it. But so the variegated has this teal, and then it has this redwood color, and then it has some spaces where the redwood is darker, and some places where it's lighter. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to do a darker brown to go with it. And then I'm also going to do a solid in the teal. So I did both of those. And it looked really pretty. I thought it looked really nice together. I took a picture of it and I posted the picture. And the teal in the picture looked too bright. And I thought, isn't that odd how the camera does that? Which... it partly was the camera, but it was partly, I think, that I had in my head. It's like I had an image in my head of what the color was in the brown variegated skein. And it wasn't the color I thought it was. Even though I was looking at it, I just wasn't seeing it clearly. And then when I looked at it in the picture, it was more clear. And I thought, that doesn't look very good. That's kind of not the right color. And then I started knitting, and so the mystery knit along called for the brown first, and then the variegated. And as I started knitting the variegated, you get to each of the colors individually, and you're knitting them, and you're looking at them individually because the stitches. Like you have stitches on your needle that are just that color, and you see just that color and not the whole skein. And as I was knitting it, I was thinking, oh, this is not blue teal. This is green teal. That is not right. So that was when I sent you a picture and said, I think this is wrong. Do you agree? I think I need to do something here. And of course you said yes. And so I spent some time over dyeing the blue teal to make it a little more green leaning. and
kind of sprucey.
yes, exactly. I think of this. I mean, it really reminds me of redwood. Like a redwood forest, because the green is that sprucey teal green, and then the brown is definitely sort of redwood color brown. And now it's fine, but yeah, it was very interesting. I had it in my head what color it was by looking at the whole skein, but when I was looking at it stitch by stitch, I knew it was wrong. So it was a kind of an eye-opening experience. You kind of have to, when you really want to look at color, you kind of have to take away everything that's around it. So you just see the color. Yeah. Because I was seeing something that wasn't there. So,
well, it looks great now. I think the colors look really nice.
Thank you.
They go together well.
I really like it. Yeah, I'm very happy with these colors. I think it'll be really nice, and the pattern is really fun. I won't talk about what's in it, but I mean, I have pictures on my project page, so if people want to see, they can go, look deeper than just the main picture. But yeah, it's a mystery, so I'm trying not to spoil the mystery if in case someone else is, in case someone's doing it and isn't keeping up. But I've been trying to keep up, and so far I've done it. I've only been pretty monogamous on this, so I'm on clue 3 and I'm almost done.
And remind me again, when did the cues come out? Is it every week or every 2 weeks?
Yeah, every week.
Oh,
so
every week.
We get a clue every week. This is the third. I'm working on the third one, and I think I'll be done. We get them on Sunday, I think. They come out on Sunday, I believe. So I have until Sunday to finish this one before the next one. And then once the last clue comes out at the very end of January, the knit along, I think, goes all the way till Valentine's Day. So in case you got behind, you have a little bit of time to catch up. But I'm enjoying it. This clue takes us all the way to the end of one side of the shawl. So so I'll be able to see what like half of it looks like, which will be fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've been enjoying it. Let's see. Is there anything else in the doily, the shawl? Oh, and then the only other thing I have is we had the Anne's Web Guild spinning day was this past weekend. And I went to that, and I brought my CVM, the endless pale brown CVM.
I don't think you're using it up. I think it's like the goose that laid the golden egg.
Yes,
or something. It just keeps.
It's multiplying.
That's what you've got is a CVM that keeps producing CVM.
Yeah, well, and I thought I was done after the couch and sweater, and then I found a ball of it. Well, I thought I was done with all of it that wasn't pin drafted, because they had sent me one bump of pin drafted roving to try. And so I thought all the regular bumps of roving were done, but I found one. So I have a regular bump of roving and I have a bump of pin drafted roving. I'm not going to spin all of it, I don't think. But I think I have enough already for the sweater. For a sweater out of the 3-ply, but I thought, well, I didn't have anything else ready to go to spin on the spinning day. And I have one skein of singles, or one bobbin of singles. And I thought, well, that's dumb. I might as well just fill up 3 bobbins and ply it off one more time at least. Don't just leave one bobbin of singles. And knit your sweater. Have this random bobbin of singles. So I'm going to finish that one off, and then I think I probably will be done spinning that. Maybe I'll bring it to de-stash, because I truly am tired of this fiber. Oh my God.
It's been going on a while.
Yeah. Well, I spun it for the couch and sweater, and I've been spinning this one. Let me just look. I've been spinning this particular 3-ply since I started it in 2014. And I started it for Tour de Fleece in 2014. I added to it in Tour de Fleece 2016. It's now going to be 2019. 5 years is long enough to have this stuff lying around. I need to get rid of it. So I'm ready to be done. I think I'll do these last 3 bobbins, ply them together, and then say we're good. And then I'm still trying to debate if I like the red, the over-dyed red, or not. It's kind of a brick. It's kind of a brick red color. So I know I talked about doing the dyeing on this. I'm pretty sure I did in the last episode, but so I'm still debating whether I think that's a good color for me or not. But that's the extent of my project. Pretty monogamous on this mystery knit along because I want to keep up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's actually really fun that you're able to complete each excuse me, say that again. Complete each clue each week. Yeah. And keep up with it. I think that's actually really neat.
Yeah, it's been fun. I felt like with the blanket that I talked about in the summer, that Carew vintage knit along or crochet along, I really felt like I was missing out. I knew I couldn't do it. I didn't have the yarn. I didn't have the skill set to keep up, even if I had been able to start it. Because I had to watch videos to learn how to do some of those stitches, and I had other projects, but I really kind of felt like I was missing something. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, oh, darn it! I wish I could do this. I wish I was in it. Every clue would come out, and I'd be like, oh, I wish I had my project at that point where I could just start on this clue. So it's been fun. It's been really fun to do this, and the pattern is good. I'm enjoying the pattern, unlike the one the sort of aborted one that we started before. Remember that one where we went and got yarn when you came to visit? The knit along.
Yes, it was like Birds of a Feather, and I renamed it Birds of Prey.
Yeah,
I think that was it. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah,
that was rough.
That was rough. Yeah, I had to give up on that one.
But this one.
But I made something else with that yarn. I love the yarn. I made another shawl with it, and I wear it a lot. So not all is lost.
All right. Well, what about your projects you're making right now?
Okay, so I have nothing completed, and I've been working pretty much exclusively on Cloud Cover by Heidi Kirrmaier, and that's with that is it Juniper Moon Farms Findlay DK. I measured it just before we started recording, and I have about 8.5 inches under the arm.
Oh, nice.
Of the body down. The whole pattern is in centimeters, so I have 21 centimeters, and I need to have 40 centimeters, and then I'll just do 4 rows of the edging and then bind off.
Okay.
So I'm making pretty good progress. I mean, I figure I'm about halfway done on the body. I am getting a little anxious though about if I'll have enough yarn, because I have a 2-inch ball left, 2.5-inch ball left of my 4th skein, and I have a total of 6 skeins. So I have to finish the body, but then I also have to do the collar, and the collar looks like it's quite wide. I mean, it's maybe 6 inches wide, 8 inches wide. I mean, it's pretty big. So I'm getting kind of anxious, but just to remind people, this sweater is an unusual pattern. So you do it's top down, you do the yoke, then you put the body on waste yarn and hold it and knit the sleeves flat. Then you seam the sleeves and pick up stitches and for under the arm, and then attach it to the body and then keep knitting the body down. So what you're supposed to do is knit the sleeves to the length specified in the pattern and do the border, the cuff, and then seam that up. What I did is I seamed down to maybe 3 inches above the cuff, and I did not put the cuff on. And then I just am holding those stitches. The cuff end of the sleeve is on waste yarn, right? Because I was concerned that they may not be long enough, or I was concerned about the length.
Right, and you want to get the collar on first before you can tell for sure, yeah.
So I did put it on, and I also I put it on, and the sleeves seem a little long. And then I also laid it out against another sweater, and the sleeves seem a little long. Now, it's kind of irrelevant because until you get the collar on,
you can't.
That's
really
not a really
tell.
accurate measurement. But my sense is the sleeves might be a little long. So, which is making me feel a little bit better because if I feel like I'm not going to have enough for the body and the thing is I have to complete the body first, right? Before I can put the edge on
right.
for the collar. So, if I feel like I'm not going to have enough yarn, the sleeves, I think I'll rip back a little bit and I'll have a little bit of yarn. And then of course I have the swatch too. And I made a fairly large swatch. Mm-hmm. So hopefully I'll be okay.
So no need for panic yet.
No, it's one of those things I just sit there and I'm like,
Well, and you can always get another skein of yarn.
I don't think I can. I think it's discontinued.
Oh, dear.
But I did look.
We'll all cross our fingers for you.
Yes. I did look on eBay and there was somebody who was selling like 8 skeins or something.
Oh, okay.
Of course, I'm sure they're not going to sell me 1 skein, but I'm not buying 8 skeins. And I didn't even look on Ravelry to see if anybody has it, So, but anyway, so I'm making pretty good progress on that. I'm working almost exclusively on that in terms of big projects. Mm-hmm. And then I have just my pair of vanilla socks that I'm making out of the yarn from a company called Little Fish Stitches in Aberdeen, Washington. Mm-hmm. And that was the one I started because it was really, really bright.
Oh, right. You needed colors. Some color. Yeah.
I needed some color. In fact, I said it's bright, happy colors, and the color is happy-go-lucky. So,
perfect.
I've been really enjoying knitting on those just to have a bright color. And then the other thing I've been working on too is trying to work on it a little bit every day is the spinning. And so the fleece that I bought 2 years ago at Black Sheep Gathering, the Wensleydale, Corriedale, Merino cross, I have 1 bobbin done.
Nice. Because that's not just spinning, that's carding, that's all the preparation.
Yes. Yeah. So I have 1 bobbin done, and I still have a lot of the carded fleece. And also I practiced, I put all of it through the diz. Mm-hmm. And I think honestly, I've only done a quarter of the fleece. So I have a lot more to, and I have to do something about it sooner than later because I have the drum carder is clamped to the sorting table for the laundry. So all the laundry is now just piling up on top of the clean laundry is piling up on top of the washer and dryer. So I have to, I have to get down there and fold my laundry, but also I need to get that laundry sorting table cleared off. So anyway, that's what I've been working on.
Nice.
And then I just want to mention too about spinning is I had a little adventure in Monroe, Washington. They have a St. Distaff Day spin-in, and that was the first Saturday after the New Year. They always have it that Saturday. So I went up to that and sat with all the knitters, and I did some spinning. It was a fun event. And
you sat with knitters?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say knitters?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, spinners.
I was going to say, Marsha went to a spinning event and found a bunch of knitters.
Yeah, well,
I'm sure there were people there knitting.
Yes, actually, that's true. There were knitters there, but they were all spinning. Everybody was spinning, and it was a good group of people. There was a lot of people there. I looked at the stuff for sale and equipment for sale. Didn't buy anything.
Was there anything cute like that very cute wheel from last year?
No. I'm going to say no, Kelly. You didn't miss anything.
Okay, good.
But then I did buy some fiber, and even though I thought I am not going to buy anything, I did buy something because it was just so beautiful. Isn't that what people always say?
Yes.
It's so beautiful, I couldn't pass it up. Let me grab it here. I bought 8 ounces. Well, both of these are from Huckleberry Knits, and I bought 2
She
skeins.
has such beautiful colors.
Yes. Well, the first thing I saw was I bought 8 ounces of it. It's camel, merino, and silk blend. So it's 40 camel, 40 merino, and 20 silk. And it's like a natural color. It's not white, but it's sort of like an ecru color.
Uh-huh.
and it's like a cloud. So we might have to have a conversation about spinning it, because I am holding it here in my hand, and it's not a super, well, actually the staple is longer than I realize. It's about 3 inches.
Okay.
Probably. So that's better. But I was just wondering, I'm going to have to talk to you, Kelly, about, I'll spin a single, and I was thinking I would do a 3-ply, but I think this, if I just do like a 2-ply, I think it could pill. I think this is going to pill. And again, I'm not the expert spinner, so I don't know. But I'm going to experiment with this. It's very, very soft.
Oh, nice.
And I don't know what's giving it this fabulous sheepy smell. It must be the merino, or it's the camel. I don't know, but it smells fabulous. Which reminds me, I was up there, and all of the fiber that's for sale, of course, has been, washed and carted. So you can buy bats or roving or whatever. But there was one booth there, and they just had bags of the raw fleece. And I kind of like, I'm just going to stand here and smell them. They smelled really good. And then the other thing I bought was just 4 ounces of 100% Tussa silk. And it's called Blue Spruce. So it's kind of a... well, you were talking about teal. It's kind of a teal and kind of that spruce color in there. And the reason I bought it is I bought some of her Tussa silk before that I put in my the last combo spin that I did.
Oh, yeah.
And I really liked, whenever I pick out a piece of that silk, I really like spinning it. So I think with this one, I'm just going to spin it by itself and not put it into a combo spin. Just try spinning the 100% silk.
You'll like it.
So
yeah.
And then the other thing I bought is I had bought a couple years ago when I went up there. There was a company called Fleeber Farms, and I don't know if you remember, Kelly, but I bought that sampler. Well, this time she had spools of rayon for plying with your yarn.
Oh, right.
So and they were just these amazing. I just love the colors. There's one that's like an olive and a bright red and like a periwinkle, kind of a lavender periwinkle color.
Oh, pretty.
So I bought 3 of those spools. And there's something like 5,000 yards on them for $6 or something. So
those are like the spools of silk that we got from the Eugene Textile Center.
Yes, and they're very, very fine. I mean, they're like
thread,
like sewing thread, kind of. Yeah. So I don't know how I'll use them. Like the green, I think would be really pretty plied with the silk. So I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but I just, artist supplies, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. You're ready whenever you need to do something with single, a thread, ply a thread.
Yeah. But the other thing I wanted to mention too is when I was up there at the St. Distaff Day Spin-In, my understanding is it's sponsored by the Northwest Regional Spinners Association, and they had a table up there, and I thought, why didn't I ever do this before? But I joined the organization.
Oh, fun.
It's just $25. So I joined it, and so then I was looking at their website, and there's lots of events, upcoming events. And so there's 3, 2 of which I'm going to try and go to, and I'm just going to mention these. So February 2nd, there's a spin-in and board meeting from 10 to 3:30 at the Brightwater Conference Center in Woodinville, Washington. And it says for a $5, they ask for a $5 donation, and that includes lunch, if I'm reading this correctly. And then on February 9th, there's a workshop, Beyond Braids, Color Management for Spinners, which I'm interested in that.
Yeah.
I think that's at the Burien Free Methodist Church in Burien, Washington. And I'm not able to go to this one, but on March 15th through 18th at there's the Camp Burton Spinners Retreat at Camp Burton Retreat Center on Vashon Island, Washington. And I'm out of town that weekend, but and we can put a link in the show notes to all of these events.
Okay, yeah.
And then I was just snooping around on the internet, and there's also the 48th Annual Whidbey Weavers Guild spin in, and that's April 6th through 7th from 10 to 4. And there's going to be a workshop on spinning space-dyed fibers. And I don't know, Kelly, what space-dyed fibers are, and then that's in Oak Harbor at the Oak Harbor High School.
Okay. Space-dyed is when you dye it in sections, like painted in sections.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is what I've been doing. I just didn't know that's what I was doing.
And so again, it's another kind of aspect of color management and spin. That would be interesting.
Yesterday, I attended a funeral, and it was in Tacoma, Washington, which is about an hour south of Seattle, and I rode with another woman, acquaintance of the family that was having the funeral. And she's a fiber person too, longtime spinner and knitter.
Oh, wow.
And we got talking about, and we've talked about this before in the podcast, that when I first started to knit, I thought I was the only one, and I was kind of embarrassed that it seemed like it was kind of an old lady thing. And so I didn't want anybody to know that I was knitting. And there was no way to find out who else was knitting in my world. And sort of the beauty of the internet, and especially Ravelry, is that you can find people in your community.
Yeah. And
the same thing, like what I just found out about, I actually found out about St. Distaff Day, the first New Year's after I got my wheel, because my wheel, I think it was Cindy Q, one of our listeners, the one who told me about it.
Yeah.
And so I went that first year, and you start making these connections. And then I found out going this year about this Northwest Regional Spinners Association, all the different workshops. But then I was online, and I just found this one that's going to be in Oak Harbor. So just the internet has created, you don't feel as isolated. Like I'm the only one spinning. I'm the only one knitting. I'm the only one dyeing. You can find a whole community out there.
Right.
That's just how it's changed so much.
Yeah. Well, I was lucky enough to find Anne's Web just through the shop where I bought the spinning wheel. The woman who owned the shop directed me to their Learn to Spin meeting, which they have every year in September in the Monterey Bay, Santa Cruz, Monterey County area. But yeah, if it hadn't been for that, I don't know where I would have. Well, yeah. Actually, I do know, because Herb Myers, who built my wheel, he was part of a different guild in San Jose, so I would have gone to his guild instead, I guess.
Yeah.
But I was really surprised back then at how many people were spinning. And people will still say to me, "Oh, that's a dying art," Like, no, I don't think so.
No, I don't think it's a dying art, especially, if you have, 200 spinners show up at the St. Distaff Day,
Yeah.
I'm just making up that number. I honestly don't know how many. It could have been more than that. So,
did you see anybody that we saw you knew from last year?
I did not. I sat with one group. I kind of started a group. They just set up chairs in a circle, and people can just sit anywhere you want. And a lot of them were sort of full. So I thought, well, I'll just start a group. And two women and their children came and sat down, and we talked for a little bit, and then they got up and left. And I sat there for a while, and I thought, okay, I think I need to go find another group. I don't want to just sit. So I joined another group, and I didn't know anybody, but you end up talking to people, and now I'm Instagram friends with the people that I talk to. So,
nice. You met some new people.
Met new people, yeah. But I didn't see anybody that I recognized from last year. It was a fun event. But anyway, that's it for events. I just wanted to mention those. And as I say, I'll put links in the show notes.
Okay.
To these events.
Well, and thinking about events, let me just mention Stitches West.
Oh, yes.
Is coming in the Santa Clara Convention Center. That event goes from February 21st to 24th. Yes, Thursday, February 21st through Sunday, February 24th. And then I also wanted to mention, because I thought it was surprising, the Black Sheep Gathering this year is in July. Usually it's the end of June. And this year only, it's going back to its normal time in future years, starting in 2020. But for 2019, it's the 5th, 6th, and 7th of July.
Oh.
Yeah. And so when I found that out, Tracy, little town knitter, who used to be Thumperina, she messaged me, and I went and looked it up and was like, what? Wait, what? So I don't know. Maybe I had known that before, but I did not remember that those were the dates. So once I looked it up, I thought, oh, well, I'll make sure I announce it on the show, because if anybody was, kind of had in the back of their mind about Black Sheep Gathering, it's not the same weekend that it normally is this year. It's been moved back to the 4th of July weekend, which might be a little bit of a problem for people.
Yeah, it might be a problem, or it might be better for people.
It's hard to know.
Yeah, it's hard to know. Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, but it's a change. It was worth mentioning that change.
Okay.
So, all right. I was just sitting here thinking that the whole time I talked about my projects, I didn't tell anybody the name of any of them.
Oh, okay. So should we go back and correct that?
Yeah, well,
now?
I didn't tell the name of the doily because it's FDA something.
Okay.
And it's a pattern you can get by emailing this appetizer. It's a pattern you can get by emailing. So if someone wants it, they can contact me, and I can put you in touch with Andreas, who emailed out the pattern, the charted pattern to everybody. But the Twin It Up Mystery Knit Along by Cozy Up Knits is the shawl that I'm working on. And so I wanted to make sure I said that name. It's the Twin It Up Mystery Knit Along.
Okay.
So those are my projects. Oh, and I didn't say anything about my weaving project now that I'm looking on my project page. I just to mention that my weaving project had to stall for a little bit. I did get the warp on. I went back to front instead of front to back with winding the warp. So it's all wound onto the back beam. And now I have to thread everything. And I discovered that I didn't have enough heddles for the number of threads that I had, because my table loom only has 320. And I have 480 ends in my dish towels. So I ordered 200 more heddles, and they've come, but I haven't put them on the loom. So just a little cautionary tale. You should know how many heddles are on your loom.
Oh, before you start.
So you know you have enough of them. Yes. And what clued me in, I wouldn't have even thought of it, but what clued me in was the last time I had used it, apparently I had run out, and I had tied on, and I had already been going. It was like, oh, too late to take it apart and put new ones on. So I made hand-tied string heddles. I tied a string to the top, tied a string to the bottom, made a little string loop in the middle that you put the yarn through, which we were taught to do that in weaving class because the equipment, wasn't all up to par. And sometimes you had to make your own heddles. Or if you made a mistake, sometimes you could make a new heddle to accommodate the missing thread that you had. So I was glad I had learned that trick in weaving class, but I don't think it was designed to put 20 heddles on a shaft, because you didn't count properly before you started.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I thought, I wonder if I'm going to have enough. And that was when I counted them and discovered, no, I was not going to have enough. So I got more. I ordered them from the Woolery, and they came really fast, and now I just have to get them on the loom. So just a little weaving tip. Make sure you know how many heddles you have, and make sure you can do the kind of math that says this number is bigger than this number. The number of heddles must be greater than or equal to the number of threads in your project.
Yeah. Yeah.
So last time, Marsha, we were saying how we wanted to talk this episode about our, I call them resolutions. I like to have resolutions. I know people don't always like to think of them as resolutions. In fact, I saw something on Instagram. Someone posted that the word resolution comes from resolve, which comes from solve, which means you're a problem. And so making a resolution is like saying that you're a problem that needs to be solved, which I guess I can see that. But
I guess that's why I don't like the word.
Lots of people don't, but I don't know. I like them. So I have a resolution, a sort of overall resolution that then I have some things under that I'm going to do. But kind of like the 1 year where I had that I was going to be more generous.
Mm-hmm.
And this year my resolution, I did it. I was generous for a year, and then I stopped.
I only laugh because I don't think of you as being ungenerous. Right. But I remember the context of the whole thing about being more generous. So yes, I'm just laughing because I don't see you that way. So
well, anyway. and just to kind of tack on to that a little bit, it does kind of stick. I mean, like I thought about it in terms of being more generous with my time, with students, and more generous with my attention, like not thinking about a million other things I had to do while they were trying to talk to me about something. And I have to say that some of that did stick. There were parts of it where it's like, okay, now I'm done. When the year was over, it's like, I don't have to be as nice as I was being if I don't want to. So this year, the thing I'm thinking is that, and I heard this somewhere else, I didn't make this up, but I thought, oh, this is good. It was in some other context. My resolution is to raise my default level. So, yeah. So, I mean, in the context of my teaching is really where I started thinking of it. This is my 32nd year that I'm starting. Mm-hmm. So, you get into, just like you have default spinning, you have default teaching. It's like, okay, well, I always teach this thing that same way, and I always do this, and this, and the other thing. And there's just certain default settings that I have. And I thought I could raise those. I could raise those default settings just a little bit, just not like I have to make huge changes, because I'm a real big believer in incremental change. But I thought, all right, I'm going to think of that as my resolution for the year. So I'm going to raise my default level of walking. I'm going to raise my default level of reading, because I haven't been reading actual books in a while. I'm going to raise my default level of not recycling, but like awareness, environmental awareness. I mean, thinking twice about, do I need this thing in a package? Do I need this packaging? Do I really need this plastic fork, or can I bring a fork with me? That kind of, can I bring a water bottle that I just always use, as opposed to going to the cafeteria and buying a bottle of water? Just kind of raising my default level of that kind of stuff. So that's been my overall goal. So, and in terms of the walking, I can say I think I'm doing really well, because I have walked every day since January 4th.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. So I have my training schedule. I don't know if I said this in the last episode or not, but my dad wants to do Big Sur this year. So we are both training. He's going to be 79 when Big Sur happens. And, so he wanted to do it again. Well, he's done it, and I've done it, and I've done the first part with him before, and then gone on. And he was doing it with Marlon, his late wife. And so now it's just him. And so he wanted to do Big Sur, and I said, sure, I'll do it. So I'm training for the Big Sur 21 miler, which is a 21 mile walk along the west coast of California. They call it the ragged edge of the Western world, which I think is pretty cool.
And true.
Yeah.
It's very rugged.
Yes.
Or it's very ragged.
Very ragged, very cold, foggy. It could be nice. There have been years that it's been nice, but it's always cold at the very beginning.
Yeah.
He's been training, and I've been training, and I decided that my training schedule, I had to get sort of honest with myself. And I knew that if I didn't have a training schedule that had walking every day, I would play games.
So play games, like if you walk 3 days a week, then what is that how you play a game? Like,
let's say my training schedule said I was supposed to walk on Monday and Wednesday and Friday. So on Monday, I wouldn't feel like it. And I'd say, oh, it's okay. I don't have to do it, because I can always do it on Tuesday.
Right.
And then Tuesday would come, and I wouldn't do it. and that was like my day off. And then Wednesday would come and I'd say, okay, well, I'll just do a little extra on Wednesday to make up for what I didn't do on Monday or Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And pretty soon your training schedule is kind of out the window, because the whole point of the training is that you have, sort of regular walks during the week, and then one long walk. Once a week you do a long walk. And for me, it's on the weekend. So anyway, I played games before. Not when I was seriously training, but in recent years, I've had a really hard time getting back into the groove of it. And this game playing with the schedule has been part of what I've done. And so I just said to myself, you have to walk every day. Yeah. So I have had on the training schedule for my regular walk 3 miles. It's not far, but I have to do it. And so it's been 3 miles every day, and I've done it for almost, after today's walk, it will be 2 straight weeks, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's more than I've done in years.
Well, yeah, I mean, I will get to myself in a moment, but
I haven't walked that regularly. I've walked distance, but I haven't walked that regularly in a couple of years. And then I'll tell myself, gardening counts, like walking. I'll count that as my training, like baloney. I'm not doing that game anymore. So that's my first thing where I'm raising my default level.
I'm just going to put a little note in here about gardening counts. I thought the same thing too. And I'm doing it on the Apple phone. They have that health app. Do you have that on your phone? And so it'll track your steps. So I don't know, 3 miles is like, I don't know, around like 6,000 miles or something.
6,000 steps.
Yes, I'm sorry. I wish I could just listen to what I say. I'm like, oh my God, what were you saying?
That's why there's 2 of us here, Marsha.
Yeah, thank you for correcting me. Yeah, we watch out for each other.
That's right.
No, 6,000 steps. And so on Monday, I went and worked in the yard. I'm still, doing my flower bed reduction program, and I had the mulch delivered months ago. And I finally had a day where it was not raining and I had a free day. So I went and spread the mulch around. And what it doesn't take into account is all the lifting. So I worked out there for about 6 hours, and it's only about 2,000 steps, because it's not taking into account. Like I have to go all the way around the neighbor's house, because around the corner, because my backyard is in 2 levels. And I can't get the wheelbarrow up the stairs. So I just go around the block. But then I have to stand there and I have to load in all this weight of mulch into the wheelbarrow and then wheel it around to the front and offload it. It doesn't take into account all the exercise you're getting of that lifting. It's just steps.
Right.
So I think I walked 2 miles or something.
Yeah. All that work. Not to say that it isn't good for you.
No, it's good for you, but I mean, it doesn't take into account you're not getting the miles, you know what I'm saying? The actual miles on your feet.
Yes.
Anyway, that's just a side note about those apps. They don't really, because why am I so tired? I only walked 2,000 steps.
I'm not going to walk every day for all the way to the end of April. This was just to kind of, I have to do it for 5 weeks. I have it on my training schedule for 5 weeks that I do every day. And then I'll reassess if I feel like I can be responsible. I'll go down, and then I'll have other stuff in my training that isn't walking, also. But yeah, it's been hard. I liked walking so much, and it's not like I hate it, but I just got out of the habit, and it's been really hard to get back in the habit.
Yeah.
So hopefully by the end of 5 weeks, it will feel normal, like something that I never stopped doing.
I, too, am trying to get back into the walking, and I'm going to try and follow. You sent me your training schedule, which you always put together a training schedule and send it to me. I am not coming down to do the Big Sur marathon, but I decided I'm just going to follow your training schedule to get back into it. So I've tried to walk every day. I didn't walk Monday because I was gardening, and I didn't walk Tuesday because I had the funeral, but I walked 5 miles today. So what I'm going to try and do is 3 miles every day. And if I can't do the 3 miles that day, then try and do like 6 miles the next day. I have more free time than you because I'm not working. So I'm going to try and get back into the walking. I agree. It's really hard to get back into it. And I'm surprised at myself because I loved all the training for the Big Sur. I didn't mind if it was raining. I didn't mind if it was cold. I didn't mind getting cold. I didn't mind getting wet. I actually kind of liked being cold and coming back to the warm house and taking off my wet stuff and bundling up in clothes or taking a hot shower and then having food. I like that feeling of putting your body through the paces kind of and having some, I don't want to say discomfort, but like somehow like being cold or sweaty, it means you're alive. So I kind of like that feeling.
Well, and didn't it make you feel kind of powerful?
Yes, it did. That I can power through wet and hot and cold. And honestly, all the training for the Big Sur was in cold because we are cold here through. And then Big Sur is end of April.
Yeah, because the training starts in December or January. Yeah.
Yes, and one of the issues I had with Big Sur, I'm now kind of going a little off topic, but I was training in cold weather all the time, and then I go down there. It would start out cold, but it'd be hot by the end of the day, which was more debilitating for me.
Hot for you. Hot for you.
Hot for you. Hot for me, cold for you.
Yeah.
But but anyway, it's just really hard. And then the other thing I'm dealing with too, which I didn't have with all my other training, is Enzo. And I decided, he has to go with me. So I'm dragging him around on these 3 mile walks. I'm dragging him. Today it was 5 miles. So I'm discovering he's kind of a little bit of a wimp. He's used to he's 3 now, and he's had most of his 3 years, his mornings to sleep in. He gets up and has his breakfast, goes out and does his business. Then he sleeps most of the day. So now he's having to get up and leave the house in the cold and the wet at 8 o'clock in the morning. And he's a little grumpy. And this is kind of hard too. I used to just walk out the door and start walking. Now I have to walk out the door and I have to give him that time to sniff and do his business.
Yeah.
And so it's I'm having to do training too along the way because I have to keep him focused on me and walking, and it's harder.
Yeah, it's not the same kind of walking. You're right.
No. Kelly, you and I have talked about this. I think I want to live up to my Ravelry and my Instagram name.
Right. You don't want to be a liar.
I don't want to be a liar anymore. So I'm making an effort to get out there. And I have to say, like I said earlier in this conversation, is once I'm out there, I really like it because I like the feeling of being cold or hot or whatever, feeling my body working. Maybe I'm a little out of breath, but that's okay. And I like seeing what's going on in the neighborhood, the plants and what's starting to bloom and what people are doing to the houses. And it makes me feel good. I feel kind of invigorated when I come back.
Well, I'm not there yet.
Oh, okay. Also, I don't have pressure because I'm not training for anything.
Yeah, I got so out of the habit and out of shape too, I'll admit.
Yeah.
So these 3 mile walks every day are kind of getting to me.
Yes, as I like to say, I'm fluffy. My body's fluffy. And I have to make it hard.
Oh, dear. Okay, yeah. I guess I can think of it that way, too.
Yeah.
At least I don't have all that hair to drag around anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so anyway, any more about walking?
So no, that's really the only thing about that. And then I do have some craft plans that I'll mention since this is a knitting podcast. I want to have more balance, or I don't know if I'll say more, because I think I did a pretty good job this year. I want to make sure that I still maintain the balance of the things that I do, because I like spinning, I like weaving, I like knitting, I like crocheting. I want to do some of each and not sort of get stuck in just one thing. I've been spinning in the evenings more than I had been for a while, so that was nice. That's been nice. And then I have some projects that I've been saying every so often, I'm like, I have to get to this. I have to get to this. And so this year I'm going to get to a couple of projects. So one of them is that punch needle rug hooking.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I have now 2 punch needles. I have 2 yards of fabric. I can't remember. I have a large amount of the fabric. I have a lot of rug yarn that I've spun over the years. I have a combo spin that's going to make more rug yarn. So I want to get that. I want to get something done in terms of the punch needle rug hooking this year. And then the other thing, and this I think it might be my oldest yarn. I know it's my oldest hand spun. It's the first fleece I ever bought. It was in the 90s, the late 90s, when I first started spinning. It's a Cotswold fleece. I bought 2 of them, and I bought them online. I don't know if I bought them through eBay or a website. I don't even remember. Robert was like, I can't believe you're buying something like fleece online. It was back in the time period where buying things online was really sketchy.
Yeah, sketchy. Yeah.
Very early on. Robert was like, oh, somebody's going to take your credit card, and it's all that stuff. But it was, oh my gosh, when it came, I was in heaven. It's like I called it my barn in a box. You talked about the smell of fleece earlier, and Aunt Betty still laughs at me because she came over and I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to see my fleece, and smell this. She doesn't think fleece smells good at all. She thinks it smells like manure. So, and it was dirty, and it was not the nice, it wasn't the nicest fleece in the world, but it wasn't horrible. And I spun it by flicking the locks. So I washed it, probably not very well. I think it was probably pretty sticky, but I didn't know, So I washed the fleece, and it kept the lock structure. And I had a dog brush, and I would hold the tip of the lock, and I had a magazine that I'd lay on my lap, and I just brush out the butt end of the lock against the magazine with the dog brush, hold it down and press against the magazine to brush it out. Then I turn it over and brush out the other end. So I was brushing out each lock. That's not exactly what flick carding is supposed to be, but it actually needed to be. You couldn't just tap it to separate it because it wasn't clean enough. And then I spun it, and it's a white and silver and darker gray, tons of halo, and I'm going to make a ruana out of it, which is what are you going to make? A ruana, which is kind of like a poncho. So imagine a big rectangle where the half of the rectangle is down your back, and the other half of the rectangle is split down the middle. And that's where your head goes, in the slit. So the front is 2 separate pieces, rectangles hanging down in front of you. And the back is the big rectangle hanging down in the back. Okay. So it's kind of like a blanket, but it has a slit. Not just a hole in the top for your head, but the whole front of it is open. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I'm making, a ruana. I've had this planned forever. I have the warp already made. The warp is a Lincoln yarn that I bought, I don't even know how long ago. But it's all been sitting there since a long time. Almost 20 years. Well, the yarn's probably been done for 20 years. So, yeah. I have to get that done this year. Have to. Must.
Well, don't rush into it.
Well, I can't start yet because I think I want to do it on my Leclerc floor loom, and it's stuck behind some stuff in the inside studio. Okay. It has a Ravelry project page and everything, but it's hibernating.
Okay.
So I know I've counted my yardage, so I know how much yardage I have. Yeah, it's all ready to go. I just haven't pulled the trigger. So but this year. It's a 2019
Okay.
project.
Okay.
So those two things, that needle punch, I always say it wrong, punch needle rug hooking
Mm-hmm.
and the Ruana.
Okay.
So what about you?
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, so projects for me for the coming year, I want to focus on spinning. As you know, Kelly, I have a few fleeces. Not, and mine are not as old as yours, so I have to say, but they're getting there. So I was kind of inspired by this, as I talked about in my projects, the Wensleydale, Corriedale, Merino cross, spinning that. And so as I say, I have all these other fleeces. I still have some fiber too. Like I bought more fiber, this camel and merino and silk. So I really would like to focus on spinning this year. And see if I can take some classes. I'm talking about going to these different events that are happening around the Puget Sound.
Yeah, that'll be
spinning.
inspiring.
Yeah. So, because I really need to, at this point, I think, kind of up my game.
Raise your default level.
Yes, raise my default level. For example, you talk about you spin sock weight yarn. I never seem to be able to get anything finer than DK.
Oh, you'll get there. Yeah.
I'll get there, but I mean, I have to, I just haven't been able to get there yet. And so I think with some help from just taking a class and some instruction and whatnot, I'll get there.
Yeah. And some intentional, some like spinning intentionally for that weight. Like it's one thing to have in your mind, this is what you want to end up with. And it's another thing to actually spin thinking about how you're going to do that through the whole spin.
Yeah.
I mean, like I have a tendency when I'm spinning to just go, oh, spinning's so fun. I'm just going to spin however I spin because spinning's fun and I like the feeling. And I think that, I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing that, right? I mean, that's why you enjoy stuff.
But that's why I always end up with DK or
The
worsted
same,
weight.
Yeah.
Because I'm not,
You do your default spinning, you get your default yarn. Yeah.
Yeah. And also in terms of spinning, and that's why I'm interested in some of the workshops that they're going to be doing is, I've now done 3 combo spins. At the Black Sheep Gathering, I bought more yarn for a combo spin, but I also bought some other braids just because I thought they were so beautiful. And instead of just, ripping the braids apart and start spinning them, I know there's all these different ways you can spin them. There's fractal, they talk about that. There's, you can spin them and then ply them so that they're all the color, the way the braid is painted, that it'll keep that pattern, that
like chain plying, so it'll keep it all together, or
keep those colors all together, and so there's all these different things you can do, and I'd like to learn a little bit more about that. And I'm the kind of learner that I don't do so well just reading the book. I do much better in a class as someo's showing me how to do it. And I just like the social aspect of it too. So
and it's inspiring to take a class.
It is, yeah. So I just really sort of, as work on the spinning, and the other thing I want to do too, and I've talked about this, I think with our learn along, is the color work. And I remember I started the tea cozy and I never finished it. And now there's a sweater that I want to make that has a color work yoke. And I haven't found yet a local yarn shop that has a color work class. So I think there's several craftsy classes. So I want to do that too for this year to really work on improve my color work skills. Because I've done color work in the past, but I think when I look at those sweaters, they could be better. I don't want to say they're bad, but they could be better, with the tension and stuff. And then the other thing in terms of knitting projects, I bought in Scotland, a sweater quantity's worth of yarn for my brother to make a sweater for him. And I was all hot to trot to make this sweater. And I was working with him, talking to him about what he wanted. And he was looking at Ravelry, and he has a very different idea about what he wants than what I want to make, or what I can, or what I can make. I don't know that I have enough yardage to do this elaborate cabled sweater that he wants. So there has to be a little bit of negotiation about what he wants for a sweater, but I do want to get that done. And then the other thing, when I made the Afghan with the yarn from my father's sweater, he really wants an Afghan like that. And I have a whole bunch of different ideas about what I want to do. And I've been collecting a lot of yarn at either de-stash rooms or at the Goodwill. So I have all this spirit yarn that my plan was to actually paint it and then do the same garter squish Afghan with these painted yarns. It's kind of the idea I wanted to do. And I just need to kind of get going on that. But it's sort of, I need to block out some, I need a day or 2 days just to sort of really think about what I want and to dye the yarn and start the planning. And so, and it's, for me, it's kind of hard. I have an hour here and an hour there to do it. I can't do it. I need like a day set aside where I can really think about this, do the dyeing. And I love having a whole day to myself just to do that, where I lose track of time. And then I realize it's 3:00 and I've not had lunch. I love that kind of day. So that's what I'm really would like to accomplish this year.
That sounds good. Yeah. See, this is why I really like New Year's, because you get to think about all the things you want to accomplish. Of course, it's not so fun at the end when you look back on what you didn't do.
So, and then I did think of another thing too. It's not fiber related and it's not walking related. It's completely unrelated to anything that we've been talking about, but I'll just throw it out there because, the other thing is if you say this out loud, and actually now there's a recording of me saying this, so now I have to do it. I had a cocktail party the beginning of December, and I don't know, I think we had about 40 people came, and I thought it was so much fun and I don't do much entertaining other than sort of the usual family stuff for birthdays and the usual Saturday thing with the as I always call them, the usual suspects that come every Saturday for dinner. What I want to do is I kind of set kind of the intention for this year is to have a party once a month, and not a cocktail party for 40. That's not what I'm suggesting, but just have someone come over that's not the normal group come over and have dinner once a month. Sort of set that intention. And maybe it's something as simple as come by and have a drink, or come by and have dinner. I don't know. But sort of get some social things going on.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. So that's sort of my plan.
Out of your usual routine, sort of.
Yeah. Which I love my usual suspects that come every Saturday night.
Right.
But it'd be nice to add to the usual suspects. Anyway.
Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah. So that's it for me.
Okay. Yeah, that's it for me too. Looks like we have quite the year ahead of us.
Yeah, now we have to makeure we do all of this.
We should probably, Well, if we don't, what's the worst thing that will happen? It's not like we'll get an F on our transcript. Thankfully, those days are over.
Well, no, we don't want to have the reputation of like, oh yeah, they talk big, but
right.
Nothing happens anyway.
Well, Stay tuned, listeners. You'll hear from us. Really. And if you're planning big things, come and talk to us about it in the episode thread, episode 106.
Yeah.
We'd love to do that.
We might get inspired. We might have to add something to our list.
Right. Well, and we can kind of egg each other on too.
Yeah, right.
I might resurrect the training for something thread. And put that up again. So if people want to check in, if they have similar goals to Marsha and my walking goals, they can join us. Help keep us honest.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
All right. We'll talk in 2 weeks.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit twoewesfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the Two Ewes
Doing our part for World Fleece.